Welcome to the podcast, Let the Prophet Speak. Today we continue our study of the book of Yehoshua, the book of Joshua, and we continue with the study of chapter 21. This chapter, is not super exciting. A lot of lists of place names and cities, so we'll go through it rather quickly. The general point of it is important, though, and that is that now that the portions have been given out to all the tribes, the special cities of refuge have been designated. Now the Levites need a place to live, and we're going to deal with that issue in this chapter. Vayigshu Roshei Avot HaLeviim, and the heads of the families of the Levite families approached El Elazar HaKohen. They approached to Elazar, the high priest, Vel Yoshua ben Nun, and to Joshua, and to the other heads of the tribes, Livnei Israel, to the of the people of Israel. Vayedabru alehem b'Shilo, and they spoke to them in Shiloh, where the tabernacle stood, B'Eretz Canaan, in the land of Canaan, Lamar, saying as follows: Adonai tziva b'yad Moshe. God commanded to Moshe, Latet lanu orim loshava, to give us cities in order to dwell in those cities, umigrashehen, and their the lands around the cities, livemtenu, for our animals to graze. We need towns to live in, and we need places for our animals to graze. Vayitnu v'nei Yisrael al aviyim minach lasom. So therefore, the rest of the children of Israel gave to the Leviim portions from within their portions, al pi Adonai, based on the commands of God. Et harim ha'ela, the following cities, ve'et migrashehen, including the surrounding pastures around the cities for their animals. Vayetze hagorol, and there was the people gave out the portions. The tribes, each one donated, so to speak, a portion of their land, and then which Levite families got which towns went based on a lottery. So the lottery, L'mishpachot HaKehati, for the Kehati families, that's the descendant of Levi. Vayihi livnei Aharon HaKohen min HaLeviim, and the children of Aharon. In other words, these are priests, but they were also a sub part of the Levite family. And so those families got from the Mimate Yehuda, Mimate Hashimoni, Mimate Benjamin. They got portions from Judah, from Shimon, and Benjamin. Bagoral Arim Shlosh Esrei, a total of 13 cities. V'lenei Kahat Hanosarim, and the remaining descendants of Kahat, who were not of the priestly families, Mimishbachot Mate Ephraim, they got portions in Ephraim, Mate Dan, and from Dan Umechatzi Mate Menashe Bagoral, and from the half tribe of Menashe, that was in the on the west side of the Jordan. Aram Eser, a total of 10 towns. V'lunei Gershon, and those that descended from Gershon, the other son of Levi. So remember, Levi had 3 sons: Kahat, who we just dealt with, and Gershon, who we're dealing with now, and Merari, who we'll deal with in just a second. So the Gershon descendants got from the tribe of Yisachar, Mimate Asher, and from Asher, Mimate Naphtali, and from Naphtali, Mechatzi Mate Menashe Babashan, and from the half of Menashe who was on the Bashan, which is on the east flank, the east side of the Jordan, and which, as we read earlier, was pretty much the area which is nowadays known as the Golan. Harim Shlosh Esrei, they had a total of 13 cities in those areas. Now Livnei Merari, to the other children son of Levi, his descendants, the Mishpachos Sam, according to their families, they received Mate Reuven, Mate Gad, Mate Zevulun, Aram Shtei Masrei, 12 cities in those portions. Vayinu v'nei Yisrael al-Leviim es Aram ha'elev es Megushen kasher tziva Adonai b'yad Moshe bagoral. And they gave them the following cities as God commanded Moshe, and they were given out by lottery. Vayitnu, and they gave Mimate b'nei Yehuda, Mimate b'nei Shimon, et Aram ha'eleh she'yikras and b'shem. They from the portions from Judah and Shimon, those which we're going to mention by name in a moment. By Aaron, and they got the Kohanim, the descendants of Aaron, who were from the family of Kahat, B'nei Levi, because Aaron descended from Kahat. Because they got the first pick from the lottery. The towns that they got were as follows: the town of Kiryat Arba, Avi Ha'anok, who was Kiryat Arba. The Arba was a person's name, and he was the forefather of the Anak, and we have mentioned him before. He Chavron, and another name for the town of Kiryat Arba is Chavron, Bahar Yehuda, which is in the mountainous region of Judah, Viet Migrashah and her surrounding areas, Svivosah, that were surrounding it. Viet Ha'ir, Viet Chatzereha, and the fields of the cities, and the Natnu L'Kalev Ben Yefuna Ba'chuzato were given to Caleb. So that area was kind of shared. Part of it was given to the priests, part of it to Kalev and his family, as we read about earlier. V'livnei Aaron HaKohen natnu et ir miklat harotzeach, and to the descendants of Aaron, the priest, they gave the city of refuge, where the murderer or where an unintentional murderers would run for refuge, at Chevron, which is the city of Chevron, Viet Migrashah, Viet Livna, and Viet Migrashah. So the city of Chevron and its surroundings, the city of Livna and its surroundings, Viet Yatir, Viet Migrashah, Viet Eshtemoa, Viet Migrashah, Viet Cholon, Viet Migrashah, Viet Devir, Viet Migrashah, Viet Ayin, Viet Migrashah, Viet Yuta, Viet Migrashah, Viet Beishemesh, Viet Migrashah, Aram Tisha, so that was 9 cities we just listed, plus the Migrashah, which is the surrounding areas. Umimate Benjamin, and from Benjamin they were given at Givon Viet Migrashah, at Geva Viet Migrashah, at Anatot Viet Migrashah. Anatot is of course famous for the it was populated by Kohanim, as we're reading now, and famous because Jeremiah, the prophet, Yirmiyahu, who was a Kohen, Yirmiyahu, came from that city. Viet Almon, Viet Migrashah, Aram Arba, 4 cities. Kolorei b'nei Aaron, HaKohanim, Shloshet Aram Migrashan. So the descendants of Aaron received 13 cities, plus their surrounding fields. Meshchos b'nei Kahas, HaLeviim, and the other descendants of Kehat, the non-Kohen ones, Hanotarim b'nei Kehat, the remaining ones, Vehi Orei Gor Olami Matei Ephraim, they received portions in the tribe of Ephraim. They also had the place where the Rotzeach would run to, the murderer would run to, at Shechem Viet Migrashah, B'Har Ephraim, Viet Gezer Viet Migrashah, Viet Kibtzayim Viet Migrashah, Viet Beit Choron Viet Migrashah, Aram Arba. I just want to point out that, to note that the Ir Miklat, the cities of refuge, was populated by the Levites, whose job it was to be the religious ministers and teachers, the ones that ran the service in the temple, the ones that were supposed to be the religious leaders of the generation. It's not coincidental that obviously there's a reason why they were given the cities of refuge, and that when the religious leader of the generation, the high priest, would pass away, then it would be time for the person to be released from the town. A lot has been written as to what this means, the meaning of it, but the idea that a person who is guilty of even unintentionally murdering someone is a person who runs to a city where he will receive, presumably have a chance to learn and study and make him and become a better person, even though it was unintentional. Negligence, lack of care for others requires one to spend time in a place where he will receive that kind of religious instruction. So it was set up this way, obviously deliberately, and just wanted to point that out as we read through these cities' names. I'm up to verse 23. From Matedon, they gave the following cities: El Tekeh Viet Migrashah, Et Kibton Viet Migrashah, Et Ayalon Viet Migrashah, Et Gatrimon Viet Migrashah, Aram Arba. And then in Machzis Mati Menashe, from the portion of the Menashe tribe, at Tanach Vet Migrashah, at Gatrimon Vet Migrashah, Aram Shtoim, those are 2 cities. Kol Aram Eser, a total of 10, Migrashan and their surrounding areas, L'mishbechot B'nei Kat Hanotarim, for the remaining people of the Kehat family. So that's the first. We've covered now the entire Kehat clan of Levites. Now we're going to go to the Gershon clan of Levites. And verse 27, V'livnei Gershon mimishpachot HaLeviim, from the Gershon clan of the Levite families, Mechatzimat Menashe, from the half. Again, they had the Etir Miklat HaRotzeach, the place where the murderer would run to, at Golan Babashan, Viet Migrashah, Viet Be'est. And I mentioned that this portion of Menashe did reside in what would nowadays be called the Golan. So that's this name is consistent with that. We had Be'eshtara, we had Migrashah, Arim Shtaim. Those are two cities. Umati Yisachar. From the Yisachar portion, they received at Kishyon Viet Migrashah, at Dovrat Viet Migrashah, at Yarmut Viet Migrashah, at Ein Ganim Viet Migrashah, Arim Arba. Those are 4 towns. We mate Asher, and from the Asher at Mishal Viet Migrashah, at Avdon Viet Migrashah, at Chalkat Viet Migrashah, at Rechov Viet Migrashah, Arim Arba, 4 towns. We mate Naphtali, and from the portion of Naphtali, again at the Irmiklat Hortzeach, again emphasizing this point that this was a city of refuge. At Kedesh Begalil, the city of Kedesh in the Galilee region, vi at Migrashah, vi at Chamot Dar, vi at Migrashah, vi at Karton, vi at Migrashah, Sholosh, those are 3 cities. Kol Oreha Gershunim Mishochatam, Sholosh Re'ir Migrashah, that's 13 cities. So now we covered the Gershon clan and the Kehat clan, so we're now going to go on to the Merari clan, the third major subgrouping of the Levites. So Mishpachot B'nei Merari, Halaviyim and Osarim, the remaining Levites, Meit Matei Zevulun, from the tribe of Zevulun, they received at Yokneam at Migrashah, at Kartavi at Migrashah, at Dimnavi at Migrashah, at Naalol at Migrashah, Armarba. Those are 4 towns. We mate Gad at Irmiklat Hortzeach, again the city of refuge, at Ramot Bagilad at Migrashah, at Machanaim at Migrashah, at Cheshbon at Migrashah, at Yazer at Migrashah, Kol Armarba. Those are 4 towns. Kol Ha'orim Livnei Merari, all of the towns given to the children of the Merari clan, Lemishpachotam, according to their families, Anotarim, the remaining ones, in other words, because Gershon and Kat we listed first, which portions they got. Mishpachot HaLeviim, from the families of the Levites, Vahigor, Alam, Arim, Shtem Esrei, they received 12 cities. Kol Orei HaLeviim b'toch HaChuzat B'nei Yisrael, Arim Arboim Mushmona, so they received a total of 48 towns of Migrashan and their surrounding areas. Tiena Ha'arim Ha'ela, Iru Migrashas V'yosah. So, these cities, each and every one with its surrounding areas, that's how they were given. They were not. The emphasis here that every town is mentioned, and it's emphasized that they weren't just given a town to live in, but they were also given the surrounding area so that they could live properly, have place for their animals, place an open space to use to raise crops or whatever it was that they wanted to use the open space for. They weren't just given houses and towns. This was the truth for all of these cities, and it was emphasized, as we mentioned each town's name, we also mentioned that they received the surrounding areas. Okay, so we're going to complete this chapter now. So God gave to Israel all of the land. We are now completed. We're done. We've done all the tribes on both sides of the Jordan. We delineated all the boundaries. We gave the land to specific individuals that are significant to Caleb and to Joshua himself. We gave land and cities and land to the Levites. It's completely given, Asher Nishbal Asis Lavosam, the land which God had promised to give to their forefathers, Vayirashua, and they possessed the land, Vayeshvuva, and they settled in the land. Vayonach Adonai Elohem Yisaviv, and God gave them rest all around, Kechol Asher Nishbal Avosam, just like He had sworn to their forefathers. This is important now to know that, remember we mentioned there were many places where the Canaanites still resided, right? But these were now at peace, because Vayonach Adonai Elohem Yisaviv, God gave them peace from their surroundings. They were no longer a military threat. V'lo amad ish bifnehem, and there wasn't a person that stood ahead of them, Mikol Oivem, from all of their enemies. That phrase, V'lo amad ish bifnehem, is reminds us of the same phrase used in the book of Esther many years later, when God gave the Jews of Persia rest from their enemies, and also we use that language, no one stood in front of them. They had peace, Mikol Oiveim, from all their enemies, Eskol Oiveim Nasan Adonai B'yadam, all of their enemies God placed in their hands. Lo nafal davar, there wasn't one thing missing, Mikol Hadavar Hatov, from all of the good things, Asher Diber Adonai El Beis Yisrael Hakol, but all of those things which God had promised the people of Israel, He promised to bring them into the land, all of it, Hakol, but came to pass, came to be. This is so now the purpose of ending with that word, of course, is to document that God kept His word, but implicit in that is an obligation. When God keeps His word, therefore it becomes incumbent upon us to keep our side of the bargain, which I'm saying now as a lead-in to the next chapter, 22, which I'm looking forward to studying together with you shortly.